The first four floors are much more like a community art center than a museum. Open and free on the first floor, community galleries, classrooms on the second floor, photo center, auditorium on the lower ground floor. And we hope the possibility of having other nonprofits in our community have their offices on one floor and even utilize their classrooms for their programs.
Let me ask you about that, because that's a significant change from the way most of us kind of think of museums. We think of museums as a big imposing building. It's got these galleries. You go in, you look through, you wander through the galleries and look at the artwork, and then you leave. Clearly, what you have in mind with this addition is something that takes you in a really new direction.
It's very different. And I think we've learned a lot from COVID and a lot from the racial justice movement the last few years, and thinking about equity and about sustainability and listening to what our community would like from their museum.
Give me a sense of the timetable. When do you hope to begin construction? When do you hope it'll be finished?
We are learning loud from our audiences too that they'd like to have a green building. There's only 3, I would say, public green buildings, museums in the country, and we think we need to be a leader on that as well. And so we're going to open a competition later this year, and then we're hopefully going to have the finalists for this architecture competition come and present their ideas to our community to get feedback. So let's say 3 years. In a perfect world, we're digging in 4 or 5 years.
I hate to be crass and talk about money, but I need to talk about money and ask you about it.
I like money. It's okay.
The idea that you're putting forth right now is that you are going to raise about $85 million to pay for this project. Obviously, we've been in the pandemic for 2 years. Revenues are down at every museum in the country. How difficult is it going to be for you to raise this kind of money?
It's a great question. I appreciate it. Our target is $85 million. We've already raised about $15 million. We feel very confident. So we're going to be looking to not your typical sources for funding and for partnerships, because we think we're really taking a leadership role in thinking about what is the next generation of museums look like. There's been a few new museums that have opened recently, and they are absolutely beautiful, but they're still along the same model of better, beautiful places to show art, which we will continue to do. But we're thinking differently about engaging our community with that art as the top priority.
This is obviously an ambitious undertaking, and it's more than just bricks and mortar. You've talked about how this is really going to take the museum into a new era, take it in a new direction. Why is that so important?
We have served our community well, but there are members of our community who don't come to the museum. So we want to be thinking about those who don't come. Why do they not come? What are we not doing to attract other people to come? And this new model, we think, is going to expand our footprint, as well as the potential for different audiences to be much more interested in participating and having dialogue with art.
The buildings that make up the Portland Museum of Art are some of the most noteworthy in Maine. The main building with the brick facade on Congress Square, the handsome older buildings on the backside. These are really special buildings. I know that you haven't really engaged yet with architects. You don't know what the final design is going to look like, but you have a rough idea of what you want this new building to sort of embody so that it fits in with what you have and fits in with the neighborhood.
It's a great question, Rob. And, the great Harry Cobb, who built our building with I.M. Pei, the Payson wing, always said, when you do something new, you've got to do something as good as the old buildings. You can't have it just serve the old buildings. It has to be just as strong.